Okay, people. So I am joined by Nani Li Yang and Kathy Wu, right? And yeah, they are the creatives behind Beneath the Banyan Tree. Nani is the writer and Kathy is the star. So guys, thank you very much for stopping by the podcast, man. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you for having us. This is the first time we actually are doing a podcast overseas, right, Nani?
Yeah, this is the
Yeah,
first
so
one.
we're very excited, even though it's a bit early here, but we're very excited. Thank
Oh
you for
my
having
day. Like that's too much
us.
pressure, guys. What the hell? You know what I mean? What are
No
you doing
pressure,
to
no
me?
pressure, Kevin, please.
Hey, so how did this film how did it come about?
So this film is about the Chinese American immigrant story. It's a mother bring her grandchildren of her son to the U.S. to living under her daughter's roof, whom they have been distanced for like 12 years. And then that's how it's a story about the three generation four people and how they living under each other's expectation and adjusting new life in a foreign country, as well as finding their own individuality.
Mm, yeah. It was interesting because I think sometimes with films like this, it sometimes is people's first contact with a different society, a different culture, right? And so you get to see all of these nuances, the way people are interacting and their viewpoints and all of that. So it's fascinating to see like this family unit and how they're evolving and growing together.
Yeah.
Was that one of the big things that you really wanted to do when you were telling the story?
Yeah, mainly when we working on this film, we want to tell the story of the new generation of Chinese
Yeah.
immigrant. Yeah, the first generation of Chinese immigrant today, because we don't feel it's portrayed enough on big screen, and because all the technologies, informations, like the world is very different now. So I think it's important to share our own story.
Yeah, and just to piggyback on that, I think me and Nani, we both are first generation immigrants. And interestingly enough, before Nani found me, and this thing just so happened that as we were sitting down 6 years ago, no, 5 years ago, talking about the story, that I found myself having a similar experience as my character in the movie, Aijia, where she was also a first generation immigrant, and we both were going through struggles with our mother. We were both having, I guess I'm still having struggles, finding my individuality versus family expectations.
Mm,
So I think that's what, referring back to what Nani was saying, that uh, in our generation, things have changed since our parents' generation, and I think that in 2022, um, a lot of the stories that are being shown currently uh, on the international stage or in America or in European stage, uh, we just think that there could be more
yeah.
that could be available to the audience. And I think that's why Nani chose to tell her own story, because we represent the first generation immigrant in 2022. That's what we want to tell.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be different to people that, you know, came over like
Right.
earlier,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Because of all the changes, right? People's perspectives and racism and just things like that have changed, but there's still
Absolutely.
these things that do exist. There's still that
Right.
bigotry. There's still, like in all cultures, right? That the perception of who you should be with, and gender identity, just all of these things exist still,
Yeah.
right? So it's I just think, right, there's a limited kind of type of story, but there's so many different interpretations of that story. So it's always interesting to see how someone else captures this thing and brings it to life, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
Do you think, Kevin, I have a question for you. Do you think that you, after watching the film, that you felt that you could relate to it on to a degree?
Oh yeah, no, for sure.
Right.
Yeah, no, for sure. Because like, I think there's a lot of kind of things that bleed over into all cultures, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like
Mm-hmm.
your parents accepting the person that you're with. You know what I mean? Just something as simple as that, right?
Yeah.
And like cooking for your parents and then being like, no, I'm not gonna try that, or you know what I mean? It's just all of these kind of things. I just think a lot of people have experience. So whether you're watching, you know what I mean, Chinese, Black, Korean, you know what I mean, just whatever, there's elements of people's life that will resonate with you.
Yeah.
So you know what I mean? If you're watching things with an open mind, you
Mm-hmm.
can have that empathy. You can be like, oh, I imagine being in that situation is going to be tough because it's kind of like this thing that happened to me. It's not quite, but yeah, I can see those parallels. And I think
Right.
that's what happens when you watch these things, right?
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
exactly. It's like I feel like one of the reason this film has been like in the film festival rounds has been resonant with a lot of different culture background audience, including like a Western audience, which we would assume the culture is like completely opposite of what Eastern audience would like experience.
Mm,
But I think the main reason is that we all come out from our own family, and then everybody's life is kind of struggling with themselves and then their parents, like the relationship, even though the way we might express our love towards each other very differently under different culture. But at the end of the day, the expectation, the worries that the parents have over their children, and then also the children, the need of the children that they want to have like the connection with the parents, want to be approved of over the parents, like all of those things are actually, I think it's something very universal. We all want our parents to be proud of ourselves. So
mm.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. It's funny because I think a lot of times the world wants to tell you that we are so different from each other,
Uh-huh.
right? That oh, this country is so different from this country, and you know what I mean, like the cultures are so apart and everything like that. But then you watch stories like this, right? It's watching film, TV, reading books that bring you into the culture, like let you see that actually we're not that far apart, right?
Yeah.
There's so many things that are similar. There's so many situations that we'd be like, yo, I've done that. I've been through that. I go through that struggle. And I think that's the beauty of storytelling, that you can bring people together when there's so much, like the news tries to keep you apart. But yeah, these stories, man, they bring you together. And I think that was one of the, I think, the big things about this. And also like your choice of camera angles, right? There's a lot of these close-up shots that really bring the intimacy to the scenes, right? Was that something that you were doing intentional, or is that just your kind of style of shooting?
Yeah, this film has a lot of close up to those characters. I actually, I don't know if you notice, like all the characters in the film are kind of doing the same thing. They are one person internally, but outwardly, they express themselves kind of differently, kind of putting a mask over themselves. to kind of protecting who they really are, but at the same time they want to engage with the family so much that they want to be seen as who they really are.
Yeah.
So I feel like I want to use like, I think those things are in their eyes when I film the story, and it's almost like they deliver a line that's kind of a lie or a mask over themselves, but who they really are is actually in their eyes. So that's why I choose a lot of like a really close shots to trying to hopefully audience can capture that the conflicts that they have
within themselves.
Yeah.
Yeah. When you say that, like there was a scene with you and Vance, right, having dinner, and like the mothers like saying stuff, and you could just see between them that they're just like, no, let's just chill, let's not say anything, okay, let's just go with this. You know what I mean? Yeah, I mean that it does come across. It really does.
Yeah.
It's so funny that I was watching one of my friends interview the other day that she's Chinese Singaporean, and then she said that she had a sister who's always had a limp, and she never got it checked out, and she's always had, I think she had polio when she was younger, and she always had a limp, and then she always had some kind of, I guess, mental illness that was never checked out. Because, do you know why? Because in a lot of Asian cultures, perfection is the way to go. If you're not perfect, put it aside, shove it under the rug. We don't talk about it.
Yeah.
And I think an audience see a lot of that in the movie. That's why we have all the conflicts where in their eyes they're revealing the truth, but the things they say or the actions that they do are complete opposite, if not, of what their true selves are telling.
Yeah.
It happens a lot.
I think again you find that in so many different cultures. Like I know it's a big thing in African culture, right? That you don't wanna try and hide those imperfections. You don't want people to know the weakness, right? Or the perceived flaw. Because it's like, oh, what are other people gonna say? What are other people gonna do? How is that gonna impact the family? How is that gonna impact your chances in life? So it's just like can't talk about it, hide it, right? And I think it's only when you get older that you learn to just be like, no, this is me. I'm just gonna be me, right? But it takes a while, but then no one's themselves with the family, man. You know what I mean? Like you can be cool with the family, you can be relaxed and laid back, but there's always those things where it's like, I'm not gonna talk about that. Like that'd be insane. Like, you know what I mean? So I mean it's that interesting thing, and again, it's that thing that really resonates with the film.
Yeah, exactly. I feel like when I was writing the script of the story, in my mind for every character, what you mentioned, what they will think about things like, what would they think of me? What would my mom think of me if I do this or say this? And including the mother character, you would think she is the one cast all the expectation towards the family, but herself is the same, like under the culture that she grew up. She also think about exactly the same thing. What would my peers think of my family? So I think that's one of the reason like we care a lot about how we perceive by other people, and that's when we start like what Kathy said, like put everything on the rug and numb ourselves over the real problem, to avoid a conflict. And I think that's fascinating because I really think everybody is doing that, no matter who you are, what culture you come
where
from,
you are.
where you are. Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, for sure. But let me ask you this now. When you're writing it, was there thinking of like, what's my family going to think of this? Maybe I should tone that character down in case they think that's me writing them. Like, you know what I mean? Like, did you think about that when you're creating this? Be like, I hope, you know what I mean? My parents don't think I'm talking about them when I'm writing this person, or what if this person thinks this?
Good question,
Yeah,
Kevin.
that's wonderful question. I had a lot of struggle during the process. Sometimes I wrote like certain character. I was like, oh, I think they're gonna see themselves in that character. What will they get upset about me like putting them on big screen? But at the end of the day, I was like, but that's what I see. That's really a lot of humor come from those things too. So I thought, I don't care. I just want to present that. Like the mom's friends in the film, the Mrs. Trey, very funny lady. Like she's actually like a portrait of a lot of friends of my parents have. Like I kind of combine all the like very exaggeration side. Well, technically they were like it's like those language that she used in the movie. It's exactly what I've heard before. So I kind of putting them together. There was concern. But funny enough, when my dad watched the film, I don't think he think like he's the reference or anything. I think my dad is like already very used to like not talking about it, play cool so much. Like even he sees himself in those characters, but he wouldn't like say it.
Like in really self-denial way?
Maybe. It's really,
it's so funny that my mom, like she watched it first time, and then so the credit rolls up and stuff like that, right? And she sat there for a bit, and then she turned to me and said, "Did you use me as your reference?" Because you know what happened was when I first came to America, I was young, and then I hadn't lived with my mother since I was 2. So from 2 to 15, up until the point I moved to New York, I hadn't really lived with my mother. So when we were living together, we had our struggles, really. I don't think she really knew how to be a mother in a you know, in a broad way, like in a general way. And I didn't know how to live with my mother because I rarely grew up with a mother figure whatsoever. So we had our struggles. It was so bad. It was bad. It was even worse than what we had in Beneath the Banyan Tree. So I guess it was so real. What Nani had written in the script was so real that she actually asked me that question. Well, apparently she's not in denial, right? Because she saw right through it. It's like, oh my god, that's just so me, and that's just so Kathy, you know. But it does. I think that's why me and Nani clicked with each other, because we both went through that struggle, like a lot of people too. And I'm glad that, you know, audience were able to find themselves in the characters in the story too.
Yeah. So how did you two connect?
It's actually from a mutual friend. That's really funny. I have a filmmaker friend, and I was giving her reading my script while I was still writing. And then after she read it, I was not casting at that moment, but she read my script and she was like, I know this girl and this actress, and she is fantastic. I wanted her being my film back then, but it didn't work out. You should meet her. So that's how we end up like connected through that mutual friend. And then we actually had a whole meeting at outside a bakery, and then chat for an hour about our experience as like, you know, filmmakers moved to this country, and then how like our experience with family. And then that's when we know. Well, as soon as I saw her, I know.
I didn't know, to be honest. I did not know.
Okay.
It wasn't until like 2 weeks before we start shooting and say, oh, by the way, you're hired.
Oh yeah, I was being like very I try not to I don't want to let you down.
Sure.
But I gotta say that seems like a pretty mean negotiation, making someone talk to you outside a bakery so they can smell all the cakes and everything like that. Like, what are you doing to the poor girl, Nani?
I know. And my dog, and I took my dog with me, and then poor guy, he was suffering too. I mean, smelling all the sandwiches coming out, and it's a big bakery, it's a busy bakery. But it was a fun time, and I to be honest, Kevin, I did not expect, really, like looking back from now, I did not expect that to happen because okay, so we talked in 2017, right? Right, Nani?
Yeah.
Yeah, to the early 2017. Heard nothing for a year or two. I don't remember. Like, yeah, almost
No,
a year.
half a year.
Half a year, okay. Because there was no audition, there was nothing, and I'm like, okay, it's just one of those,
Mm.
filmmakers where they said they want to do something, and then you heard nothing back. Um, and then I like in December or November of 2017, that's when I got the audition. And then I went in and like, oh, okay, Nani. Oh, she remembered me. And then I went in and we went through the audition. I did not know, honestly, I did not know that I booked the job, to be honest. Um, 2 weeks before, yeah. And then 1 week later, she's like, oh, we're gonna have a rehearsal with Grace, by the way, who is one of the biggest stars in the Asian in film industry, by the way. Just letting you know, okay? Getting ready. Ready. That's how it happened.
Yeah, when Kathy coming audition, I met her before, but at the same time, like I connect with her on like a human level of like a female filmmaker have that experience of living abroad. But I do want to see how she perform a scene. I did have a casting call and sending out one page of a script is one of the very intimate scene, sort of argument with mother, and a lot of people coming in, and then Kathy was like immediately stood out because when she act out that scene, she was trying in the scene she was trying to convince her mother that you are living with me now here in the US, and then you don't really have a choice. A lot of people deliver that maybe like in very different way, but Kathy was delivering a way that it's like a mix of, even she want to say this, but she's not sure how to handle it. So it's all like in her eyes. I remember she has like in between, she has a very subtle sign. I still have that tape. She has a really subtle sign, and then that sign was like the breath was like shaking. So I was like immediately, I was like, she's perfect. I don't
Maybe
know if
that
you
was just
remember.
nerve. Who knows?
It's possible.
Like, before you saw Kathy do that scene, like, did you know exactly what you were looking for? Or was it just that performance kind of was just like, oh no, that just blew my expectations out the water. That's it. Or was there this thing in your head that like, no, this is what I want from this character?
Yeah, I feel like I was throughout, because I wrote the script, so I know the whole time I have a whole vision. I know exactly what I'm looking for. And when she came in, it's almost like I'm looking for specifically. I know I want something subtle. I wanted something that's the argument with the parents. It's not like always explosive or anything, but it's more like the character internal struggle of like they trying to repress their attitude, but at the same time it's there. It's like all internal. And then Kathy delivered that perfectly. And then at the same time, it's like there is a surprise from her over like the whole, I don't know, just like the feeling that she create within that scene at that moment. It's not only what I imagined, but more it's almost like what I have lived, that kind of feeling. So yeah, and I feel overall, I got like a group of fantastic cast. I wouldn't like credit the entire performance as like, oh, it's my vision. I don't think so. Like a lot of stuff that's in the film you see, there's a couple lines it's improv, and then there is the things that they told me that what they think about the character, and then they deliver that character the way they interpret based off their own life experience. So they over deliver a lot of stuff for me.
Nice.
Wow,
And
Kevin, thanks for asking the question. I would not have known any of this. Really, it made my day. I did not know. Wow, okay. Makes me feel like, oh, I did something right, because,
I mean, that's interesting in itself, because it's just like, you know what I mean? You this is your profession. This is what you do. And watching the film, you do it very well, right?
well, thank
But
you.
you still have that doubt sometimes. Am I delivering this right? Am I doing this to my best? Like,
Absolutely.
yeah, is that
Absolutely.
always like, is it always there? Or like, are there times when you think, no, I nailed that one? Or are you just, is it always, I think I could do this better?
I think with me, who's grown up with two perfectionistic parents, and especially being Chinese, that in the back of my head, I'm always doing this, like, how do you call it? Post-op insight, or post-op summary or review of
Oh,
everything I do. I think Nani does that too. Even last night, we came back from our launch party, movie launch party, right? And everybody's like, "Oh, congratulations, you're the lead!" Blah blah blah. I came back 1 o'clock in the middle of the night. I'm still going over, like, with my partner, going through the things that I could have done well, the things that
mhm.
I did not do well. I think it's gonna be part of me for the rest of my life, just because it's so ingrained in my body, like it's in my DNA, that I always thought that there's something that I could have done better. Looking back at it, it's been 4 years. I was thinking, because my partner was telling me how, oh, on the first couple of days, I really wasn't seeing you being in the character, and then you got better after you moved to a different location and blah blah blah. And I didn't even remember what was shot on the first day. So I was trying to going through in my head, like, oh my God, what did I do? What did I do that's so not in character? I was trying to recall all the things that I was doing. I even thought about going into my call sheet and see, okay, what was being shot on the first day of the shoot. So that's how extreme I am. And honestly, I did not sleep well last night, knowing that we were gonna have this interview, and then also doing the post-op review last night. So yeah, that's 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 I felt like, if I was my mother, I would say to me and say, daughter, this is too cruel, it's not good for your health, stop doing this. But I felt like, as actors, we are always surrounded by unknown and insecurities. I think that's like part of being an actor, that it would be something that we will have to learn to manage. And I would honestly say that it's not going to go away. And I
Mm.
think that's one of the reasons why Nani picked me as Aija, someone who is maybe someone that's so close to who she is as a person, is because we have a lot of similarities in our personalities. And I think that also was reflected. I think that was why she chose me, because all these small nuances that were, although unsaid, but communicated telepathically,
Yeah.
right, through the way I behave.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely. It's like those imposter syndrome, we constantly have it. Last night after the the party, I went home. It took me a while to my brains keep like
Yeah.
rethink of all the things that I could have done
Me too.
done better. So I think it's like one of the thing, it's like even the film is released now, and part of me still feel like, oh, this is not real, it's
Yeah.
not true, something must have happened, somebody must really want to help me out with the film. Like I wouldn't like really think about like a credit the effort that we put into the film, but more of like looking for outside resources and reasons of how this film can go so far. And I think that probably can relate to a lot of creator too, like all the artists and probably struggling with the same thing. And then this is exactly the theme of the film, that everybody is not feeling good enough for their family. Everybody is doing the best that they can, but they still think they are not doing enough.
Yeah. And hey, I'll tell you, I break down so many interactions I had, right? I went out at the weekend. It was a really nice day, but I'm on my way home and I'm thinking, all right, should I have said this? I was like, oh man, did I make my intentions clear? How did that? Oh man, I don't know. Maybe when I did this thing and blah blah blah, and like you just analyze everything, you break it down. But I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing a lot of the times, because I think it helps you like have empathy with people, right? That you're conscious about your actions. You think about, okay, how can I improve this thing? How can I be better at this? Right? It helps propel you sometimes. You just need to have that, you need to know, like, all right, I need to just go with it now. I need to just stop and just let's just get this going. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And also, I think with the overthinking, the excessive overthinking, it makes you become better at what you do, right? And I think, Kevin and Nani, you can both relate in situations where, yeah, especially in art. And I know Nani is a very detail-oriented person, and even Grace would say that, Nani would not execute anything unless it's all perfectly organized and planned out. And I believe it's so true, because she's a perfectionist. And why? Because she wants to do it so well that nobody can pick it and say, hey, you made a mistake.
So at the end of the day, is worry about what the other people think of me.
We all do. Come on, we all do. It's inevitable.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Exactly.
So how do you plan out your shooting day, Nani? Like, are you storyboarding it? You know what I mean? Making notes on the shots, like where everyone's going to be? Is it to that precision? Or are you happy to delegate certain tasks, just knowing that that person always delivers for me?
Kevin, before Nani's going to say anything, I remember seeing a picture, like she has a vlog of, recording the whole process of filmmaking. She has a whole wall of like the Post-its on the walls with like I guess every shot and who's doing what and storyboard. Yeah. So that's what I remember. So Nani, please go ahead and take the stage.
Thanks. Well, for your question, Kevin, it's like mixed of both. I can't do it all, but I do.
She tried to, though.
I do have this problem that I'm trying to. But when we planning out things, I like to break down every single scene. So when I went into the scene, I want to find that line or that moment, that beats, is the turning point. So I have my whole script was marked with all different colored pen, and I need to find every single dialogue. I want to find this dialogue is delivered this way, but what's the actual feelings that character have? So I trying to make every dialogue is actually a outright lie. Basically, it's like the opposite of what they feel. Basically, they don't say what they feel; they say the opposite. So I think that way helped me to carry out the whole theme throughout the film. So you can feel the conflict of all the character, and then hopefully that more making the characters more relatable. And at the same time, I don't draw storyboard. I can't draw, so I kind of use film, like shots from other films. Like I just screenshot from other films, tape in the scene, like back and forth, and then note. That's how I communicate with my DP. The board that Kathy was talking about, it was like for editing, like in editing process. It's like I'm in the story for such a long time. It's really hard to see the pace properly, or see like how one shot work against each other, like two different shots, wide shot, close shots. I don't know if it flows well, so I just print out entire film to like a little picture, and then cut them to like rearrange them on the a gigantic board, and that really helped. That really helped with the pacing out the story, like kind of find the flow of the pace.
Yeah, yeah. Like, how did you come to that idea of doing things? Was it someone you saw someone do it, like a mentor told you this is a way, you read it, heard an interview, or did it just feel that was the way to go? Like, how did you kind of develop that?
I think it's just I like to keep scrapbooks and stuff, so I like to print out picture and tape. So one day, like I was discussed with my editor, and then we both think that we need to improve the pace of the film. Um, and then all of a sudden, it just came to my mind, oh, I could have just like tape on the wall so I can step back, have an overall picture of how the
Mm.
story flows. Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah, no, that's fascinating. This is the thing I really like about conversations like this, because you know, the amount of different directors I've spoken to, everyone's got their own style, their own approach, and people say things and you're like, I never would have thought of doing that. That's so fascinating. So yeah, no, it's a fascinating approach to have to it.
Thank
Yeah,
you. Thank
Yeah.
you. Yeah,
yeah.
it's really interesting always learning from other filmmakers as well throughout this process, that knowing different people process differently and then find your own way. It's really fun. That's one of the reasons filmmaking is really fun.
Mm. So do you talk to a lot of do you talk to a lot of like directors, editors, and that kind of thing, or you know, look at certain people and be like, oh, I really like that person's style. I'd like to do stuff more like that, but with my own flair to it. Like, yeah, how do you kind of coalesce your influences?
Yeah, before I make the film, nobody talks to me. I don't really know many people at the time. I literally like got into the industry not long at the time. That was like 2017, 18. um and but I do, like, I'm obsessed with like all the stories behind filmmaking and the other directors bios and stuff. And then I learned a lot from reading this stuff, and then as
Mm,
well as watching like those online interviews about those filmmakers, what they do. If you watch the film, so I don't know if you can tell, it's influenced a lot by Ang Lee's film, as well as American Beauty. I don't know if you can tell. So like I just love the way that they portray a family,
mm,
that um, in such a honest way, um, in a way that they are not trying to hide anything, but at the same time they are. It's like the story is trying to expose every family's problem and secret, but at the same time, um, I don't know, it put together so beautifully and so well that make you understand every single person. And then I that made me want to make this film the same way, that I don't want to say anyone is good or bad. I just want to have an overall story that make you understand every perspective, and I hope that came across in the film. Of course, like after making the film, in the process of making the film, I get to meet a lot of filmmakers, indie filmmakers, and then that's when I get to learn a lot of experience from them, because I find indie filmmaking is fascinating because everybody was making film under a very tight budget, and they trying to create things that's on the surface you feel like impossible, and it's really eye-opening to learn how they achieve things that people think wouldn't be able to achieve.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's something I'm really interested in learning.
And
She's fascinating.
yeah, but
Yeah.
what was the thing then, right? If you know you're relatively new to all of this, what was the thing that made you think to yourself, you know what? I feel I could do this thing, right? I think I've watched all these films. I think I can do that. I think I can tell stories. I can bring my own style, my own nuance, my own flavor to the screen. Like, what made you kind of feel that you had that in you?
Um, this is very good question. So I
don't
want
think
to, yeah.
no, go ahead. I
Okay.
said we probably never thought about that.
Yeah. So when I was a kid, when I was 12, I know I want to make a movie. It's not like I think I want to make a movie. Is when I know I want to make a movie. But like our whole family was like, no, don't be an artist. Artist is entertainer. It's not respectable. Like in Chinese culture, that's one of the things that they think entertainer is kind of not really reputable. Because
Yeah.
you're making people having fun. You're not like doing something actually contribute to the society or anything. So it was like a struggle between me and my parents, and it definitely reflect a lot in the film. Until I finished my college, I told them I'm going to transfer to filmmaking. This whole process is always just like, I don't know. Like, I just feel like it's one of the things that I will make a movie one day. Maybe when I'm 30, maybe when I'm 60. I don't know. I don't care, but I will make it. And then at the day when we have like a wrap party of the film, one of my producer, I remember he was like, he told me, he was like, "You're so brave. How could you just write a story and then you dare to make it to a feature film?" And then when he asked me that, I was like, why didn't I think about that? I really didn't think about that. I don't know if Kathy, you relate. How did you feel like you can portray a character, or you just jump in?
I honestly did. I didn't even think about it, to be honest. Uh, ugh, God, the stories are so similar. Let me tell you, Kevin. We went through interviews and then we talked about how our background were similar because I grew up. I remember when I was in kindergarten, I loved performing. I was self-directing, acting. Uh, Seriously, in the Red Chamber when I was 5 in my grandpa's living room. Red Chamber, it was a very popular television back then, and I watched it and I just did it at home with the nanny. So I enjoyed performing too. And also, like Nani's parents, they said, "Hey, you're not gonna make money. Trust me, you're not
Mhm.
gonna make money." So I put it in the back burner. I never thought about it because I think when I was so young, I didn't even know that I could say what I want to say. Usually,
Yeah.
you just take from your parents, right? What they say is gospel. You take it, and you do it. What you want doesn't matter because they know better. And
And they've
then
got
so
experience, right? So if they're saying, "Oh, this won't bring you money," then surely, you know what I mean?
it
They're
won't
giving
bring
you
them.
good advice, right? It's like, "Oh, okay, I better
Yeah,
do, I better do that other thing then and
I
support
better
myself."
be in. I better be a good girl and listen to the parents and be obedient. And then life went on, and then I came to United States, and then I was living in New York, and I told my mother, I said, "Hey, my good grades are good. I should go to Berkeley." Right? So I went to California. I came to California knowing that I didn't want to major in accounting or finance, which was what my mother wanted me to do, like all the other Asian parents. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I just knew that I didn't want to do accounting. And then I got into a big car accident.
Oh,
I would, yeah, it was a head-on accident. And then I guess that was a wake-up call for me subconsciously from God, like, hey, life is short, you could have been dead, do something.
Yeah.
And a casting school sent me and called me and say, hey, come for an audition. Never did an audition in my life. Never did any performing after kindergarten. Never took any musical lessons. Never took any dance lessons after that. And I was 21 then. And then I went into the school. I did a monologue. I never felt so solid in my life. Like, that feeling of groundedness
Yes.
that
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
feel. That was what I felt after delivering the monologue. And I said to myself, hey, maybe there's something that I can do. So I find out what I want to do, call my mother in New York. I said, hey, Mom, I changed my major. And she goes, what do you want to do? I said, acting. Silence on the other end of the phone for 10 seconds. I'm pretty sure she didn't know how to react, because it's like mind-blowing to her. What?
Yeah.
My daughter wanted to be an actress? And also, like, Nani's family, they think entertainers are not good reputation. It sounds uneducated as well. One of my grandpa, he's a professor in school, and he does literature, like that's what he does. So he's like very well educated, like a scholar almost. And he didn't approve of my career until very later, that he saw me did a show about our hometown culture. That's when he started to say, oh, I guess my daughter is doing something that I approve of. It's always been a process. I think up until this point, if it wasn't for Beneath the Banyan Tree, which my mother saw with me in the theater last year, that was the first time I think me and her ever sat in a theater environment and watched my film together. It wasn't until then that she approved of my career and said, oh, okay, I'm proud of you. You seem to know what you're doing. I think you're doing an okay job. Apparently, you're the lead and you got Grace involved in the project, and she seems to approve you, and so does Nani. Okay.
Hey, well, it was a great performance, so I'm glad she was able to see that as well.
Thank you. Yeah. She there's a saying in Chinese. It's a joke, right? That they say, it's better to give birth to pork chop than giving birth to you. And my mother was saying that on the way. We were driving one day, and then she's like, after a couple months watching my movie, she said, okay, I guess having a daughter is not so bad. You are better than a pork chop. It is better to give birth to you than giving birth to pork chop. I'm like, wow, Mom, thanks. That's so nice. But the approval that I've been searching for the past 3 decades.
Hey, you're better than a pork chop. How about that?
How about that? Oh my God.
Oh, that's hilarious.
I know.
Yep.
My mom. What can you say about these parents?
Well, I think Nani said it all, really, with the film.
Yeah, it's in the film. It's all in the film. I love how your mom watched the performance, and she didn't say you did a good job, but she said you did an okay job. And then that's like the highest, I don't
compliment?
know, compliment, because that's exactly
compliment.
what my dad said. My dad's like, well, not bad, it's okay.
Exactly.
But like, he was really, I can see from his face, he looks happy when he saw the film in the theater. He looks happy, just denying it.
Yeah. He was really proud. I remember seeing Mr. Yang coming out from the theater after watching the film. He's really happy. Like, he has a smile on his face constantly.
Which is rare.
Rare? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. He didn't say much. He was just like, yeah, it's good. But I think the joy is like exploding in his heart. Yeah,
Yeah,
Mm.
that's how they do it. It's just like how I think a critique that we got for this film is it's a quiet storm. Like everything seems so quiet up here, but then underneath it, like the bottom of the iceberg, it's like everything is culminating and it's just gonna come out. I think
Yeah.
that's a perfect description of what the film is.
Yeah,
Mm.
like a swan. You know what I mean? Graceful, but
Oh,
underneath the water, the legs are like ah, going like that. You
oh,
know what I mean?
yeah,
Yeah, that's
that's
a
a
good
good
one.
one. That's a
Yeah.
good one, Kevin. We like that.
Hey, I know I don't have you for much longer, so I just want to ask you quickly with because it's subtitled. Like when you were thinking about doing the film, did you think to yourself that how am I going to like display it? Because will subtitles hold it back, right? Will that stop people viewing the film, or are you just like, no, I need to show it in its truest form, so it needs to have those subtitles? Like, what was the thinking with that?
That's a wonderful question. Definitely, like throughout this whole festival and distribution process, there was lots of doubt went through my mind and the worry and the conversation with people who helping publicize the film, um, concern. And then the film is end up in like a Chinese category, even though it's like 50 Chinese, 50 English,
Mm,
50% each. But it's like in Chinese category on all the platform. I did kind of worry about if we can get enough exposure about the film. But at the same time, when I was making the film, and then people ask me, why don't you just make it English? And then, because there are people who came here, like Chinese people, immigrants here, and then they all can speak English. But two reasons. One is when I live in the US, I did see so many mothers, fathers, first generation immigrants. They immigrate here not because they want to, it's because they immigrate here for their children. They
yeah.
can't speak English. And then their story is not told like at all. I don't think I've seen it. Maybe there is some. I just feel like those people, it's like a huge group of people living in the US, and then their story deserve to be told in the most authentic way. And then that's what one of their struggle as well. So that's when I decide, no, all the elder character in the family, they has to be speaking Chinese. And then another reason is that even though there is like a worries about people might not interested in looking into a film because they have to read subtitle, but most of the comment that I've heard, even like when I grew up, we watched a lot of Western film with like Chinese subtitle, like
Mm,
English dialogue. People tend to actually prefer to watch it with the subtitle because the line, the way, the tone character delivers, is a way more authentic. It's actually more relatable than actually you know dubbing it to a very different language, and then it just sounds not right. And then we
mm.
have a very good example now, like several most popular Netflix film is all subtitled film. So I think people do want to watch subtitled film, and it's important to stay on the ground to do what we think it's right instead of trying to chase something for the market.
Yeah, I think it's definitely important not to compromise the vision.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because there is that thing that you just said, right? It's tone. Like the tone is different if it's in a different
Yeah.
language. So the nuance of that situation changes.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, it's good. Like my only thing with subtitle is my eyesight is terrible. So it just, oh man, it is difficult sometimes to read. But
um,
I did like the fact that you had your subtitles on a solid black background, because a lot of people do not do that, and it is a nightmare. So yeah, no, that was good. That was good.
So
But
Kevin,
oh no, Kevin.
I have a question. So from an audience point of view, like yourself, who is probably who's not in our culture in relation to the movie, do you find, besides the eyesight, do you find that watching a movie with a subtitle is a nuisance? Like, I just want an honest answer here, and I would love to hear that personally.
No, if my eyesight was better, I wouldn't care.
Okay.
Like I wouldn't care. It's literally like just because it's difficult for me to see, and especially with certain languages where people talk fast,
Yeah.
it's just like, oh my gosh, you know what I mean? Like, but when you have something like this, AJ, she always sends me great films. So AJ hit me up about your film, and I was just like, all right, I'm gonna watch it. I'm just gonna, it will take me longer, but I'm gonna do it because I know it's gonna be good. And hey, AJ again didn't let me down. She sent me another great film. So yeah, thank you, Nani. Thank you, Kathy, man. I appreciate being able to, watch this great film and then have this great conversation. Man,
Thank you so much.
Thank you. It was a great talk. It was, you discover a lot of new things.
And can you let people know how they can follow you quickly before you go? And AJ kills me. So let everyone know how they can follow you and view your film.
So our film is we have social media platform on Instagram and Facebook under Banyan Tree Movie. And also you can check out beneaththebanyantree.com. And on March 15th, all the US and Canada platform, Apple TV, iTunes, Apple TV and Amazon, Vudu, and YouTube Movie, and all the satellite platform, you can be able to rent and buy the film to watch.
Outstanding. And people, all the links will be in the episode information. So make sure you go follow Nani, you follow Kathy, follow the film, and go watch it because, hey, this is a great film. It's truly a great film. So thank you very much for stopping by. I really appreciate it, ladies.
Thank you so much.
Thank
Kevin.
you so much for having us.
Yeah.
Hey, no worries. And when your next project is ready, make sure you come back, okay?
Yes.
All right. You got it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin.
Splendid. All right, ladies. Have a lovely rest of your day, okay?
You too. Have a good evening. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.